Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the ESS Endeavour and stared at the massive space station ahead. His hands were sweating inside his uniform gloves. This was it, humanity's first real meeting with alien civilizations. After 200 years of looking at the stars and wondering if anyone else was out there, they finally had their answer. And the answer was everywhere. The station was called the Galactic Coalition Hub. It hung in space like a giant metal flower, with dozens of arms reaching out in all directions. Ships of every shape and size moved around it like bees around a hive. Some ships were huge, bigger than anything humans had ever built. Others were small and fast, darting between the larger vessels. Jake had studied the files they received, but seeing it in person was different. It made him feel very small. "Captain, we're being hailed," his communications officer said. Her name was Lisa Grant, and she looked as nervous as Jake felt. "Put it through," Jake said, trying to sound confident. The screen flickered, and an alien face appeared. It had 4 eyes arranged in a square pattern and skin that looked like blue scales. Its mouth was wide and filled with sharp teeth. When it spoke, a computer translated the words into English. "Human vessel, you are permitted to dock at Arm 17. Do not deviate from your assigned path. Do not approach any other vessels. Your species is on probationary status. Any violations will result in immediate destruction." The screen went dark before Jake could respond. "Friendly bunch," Lisa muttered. Jake tried to smile, but it felt forced. "Take us in, nice and slow." The next few hours were a blur of meetings and presentations. The coalition chamber was enormous, with seats for hundreds of different species. Jake and his small team were given a spot in the back corner, far from the center where the important species sat. A tall insect-like creature explained the rules to them in a bored voice. Humans were a probationary species. This meant they had no vote, no voice, and no protection under coalition law. If another species wanted to attack them, the coalition would not interfere. It was called natural selection. Only the strong species earned full membership. That could take centuries. "How long did it take your species?" Jake asked. The insect creature's antennae twitched. "My people, the Keltharians, took 400 years. But we are a peaceful race. Warrior species often take less time if they survive their conflicts." Jake felt a cold weight in his stomach. "I see, thank you." The Keltharian tilted its head. "I am called Zixtal. If your people need guidance, you may contact me. I remember when my species was new to the stars. It is not an easy time." That small kindness meant more to Jake than the alien probably knew. 2 months later, everything changed. Jake was back on Earth filing reports when the emergency transmission came through. It was from one of humanity's colony worlds, a planet called New Dallas. The message was broken and filled with static, but the terror in the voice was clear. They came out of nowhere. Ships everywhere. "They're bombing the cities. Please, someone help us. They're killing everyone." Then silence. Jake ran to the command center. Admiral Lisa Grant was already there. She had been promoted after their successful first contact mission. Now her face was pale as she watched the screens. "We've lost contact with New Dallas, New Boston, and Terra Nova," she said. "That's 3 colonies. Gone dark in the last hour." "Who?" Jake demanded. "Who's attacking us?" "According to the probe data we're getting, they're called the Vakreen Empire. Reptilian species. Powerful military. And they're not stopping." Jake felt his blood turn to ice. "How many ships?" "Over 600. Jake, we have maybe 40 military vessels in total. Most of them are science ships with basic weapons. We can't fight this, and send a message to the coalition. Request help. Invoke whatever laws they have for unprovoked attacks." Lisa's hands were shaking as she sent the message. They waited for a response. 1 hour passed, then 2. Finally, a reply came through. The coalition representative appeared on screen. It was a creature that looked like a floating jellyfish, with tentacles that glowed different colors as it spoke. "Your request for intervention has been reviewed. The Vakreen Empire has filed a claim that human expansion threatens their territory. As a probationary species, humanity has no territorial rights. The coalition will not intervene. This is an internal matter to be resolved between your species and the Vakreen. May the strongest survive." The screen went dark. Lisa stared at it in disbelief. "They're going to let us die." Jake grabbed the communication console. "Get me every ship we have. Every single one. I don't care if it's a cargo hauler with a pistol strapped to it. Get everything to Earth, now." The Vakreen fleet reached Earth's solar system 3 days later. Jake stood on the bridge of the Endeavor, now serving as the flagship of humanity's desperate defense. Around him were 37 other ships, against 600. The battle was brutal and short. Human ships fought with everything they had, but it was like throwing stones at tanks. The Vakreen weapons cut through human shields like they were paper. One by one, the ships fell. Jake watched the USS Liberty explode on his screen. 200 people gone in a flash of light. Then the HMS Defiance. Then the Beijing. The names kept coming, each one a ship full of people who would never go home. "Captain, we have to retreat," Lisa said. She had blood running down her face from where a console had exploded. "We need to evacuate Earth while we still can." Jake knew she was right, but the words felt like poison. "Send the evacuation signal. All civilian transports to launch immediately. We'll cover them as long as we can." That's when the new ships arrived. At first, Jake thought it was more Vakreen reinforcements coming to finish the job. But these ships were different. Sleeker, with a strange grace to how they moved, and they were heading straight for the Vakreen fleet. "Captain, we're being hailed," Lisa said, confusion in her voice. It's the Keltharians." Zixtal's insect face appeared on the screen. "Captain Morrison, my fleet will engage the Vakreen. You must use this time to evacuate your people. Go now." "Why?" Jake asked. "Why are you helping us?" The Coalition said. "The Coalition is wrong," Zixtal interrupted. "My people know what it means to face extinction. We will not watch another species die when we have the power to help. Now go, save your people." The Keltharian ships, smaller than the Vakreen vessels but greater in number, slammed into the enemy fleet. Their weapons lit up space with brilliant colors. The Vakreen, surprised by the sudden attack, turned to face this new threat. "All ships cover the evacuation transports," Jake ordered. "Make every shot count." The next 6 hours were a nightmare. The Keltharians fought like demons, their ships dancing between the Vakreen vessels, never stopping, never retreating. But there were too many Vakreen. Slowly, the Keltharian ships began to fall. Jake watched as transport ships full of human refugees jumped to faster-than-light speed, escaping to safety. 2 million people saved. But the cost was terrible. The Keltharian flagship with Zixtal aboard was surrounded by 5 Vakreen cruisers. Jake saw the weapons fire tear into its hull. The ship began to break apart. "No!" Jake screamed. He pushed the Endeavor forward, firing everything he had at the Vakreen ships. It was useless, like throwing sand at a mountain. Lisa pulled him back. "Jake, we have to go. The last transport just jumped. If we don't leave now, we die here too." Jake's throat was tight. "We can't just leave them. Their sacrifice means nothing if we die too. We have to go. We have to remember what they did." The Endeavor jumped to faster-than-light speed just as a Vakreen missile passed through where they had been seconds before. On the rear cameras, Jake watched the Keltharian flagship explode. Later, they learned the full cost. 40,000 Keltharians had died holding back the Vakreen fleet. The Coalition sanctioned the Keltharian species for violating their laws about non-interference. They lost their council seat and faced decades of economic penalties. One escape pod had been recovered from the Keltharian flagship. Inside was Zixtal, barely alive. They brought him to the human refugee fleet. A young man named Ben Carter sat with Zixtal in the medical bay. Ben had been on New Dallas when the attack came. He had watched his entire family die before escaping on a transport. Now he held the alien's hand as the doctors tried to save him, but Zixtal's injuries were too severe. The insect-like being's 4 eyes looked at Ben, and through a translator he spoke his final words. "Your species has potential, young human. You feel deeply. You love fiercely. Perhaps one day you will help someone else in return. Tell your people. Tell them we do not regret our choice. Saving a species is worth any cost." Zixtal died 3 minutes later. Ben Carter stood at the memorial service with 2 million other human refugees. They gathered on a dozen different ships connected by video feeds to honor the Keltharians who died saving them. Admiral Lisa Grant spoke to them all. Her voice was steady, but her eyes were wet with tears. "We are alive because someone we barely knew chose to save us. The Keltharians owed us nothing. We had nothing to offer them. They saved us because it was right, because they believed we deserved to live." She paused. "We will never forget this debt. From this day forward, every human child will learn the story of the Keltharians. We will remember their names. We will honor their sacrifice. And if they ever need us, if any." 150 years had passed since the Vakreen attack. 150 years since 40,000 Keltharians died to save 2 million humans. The galaxy had changed in that time, but humanity had changed more. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in the war room of the EDS Vengeance, looking at star maps and ship positions. She was 52 years old with gray starting to show in her dark hair. She had spent 30 years in the military, rising through the ranks by being smarter and tougher than everyone around her. Her mentor had been Lisa Grant, one of the survivors of the first attack. Lisa had died 5 years ago, but her lessons lived on. Kate's second-in-command, Colonel Ryan Bishop, entered the room carrying a data pad. He looked worried, which was unusual for him. Ryan was normally the calm one, the person who stayed steady when everything was falling apart. "Admiral, we have a problem," Ryan said. Kate didn't look up from the star maps. "Only one? Must be a slow day." "I'm serious, Kate. Intelligence picked up Vakrine fleet movements. They're gathering near the border of Keltharian space." Now Kate looked up. Her jaw tightened. "How many ships?" "At least 800. Maybe more. They're trying to hide the numbers, but our spy satellites are picking up massive energy signatures." Kate felt something cold settle in her chest. The Keltharians don't have the military to stop that. After they saved us, the Coalition punished them. They've never fully recovered. "I know," Ryan said quietly. "Kate, if the Vakrine invade, the Keltharians will be wiped out. Their whole civilization. Gone." Kate walked to the window that looked out at the human fleet. Hundreds of ships floated in formation, dark and deadly. Humanity had spent the last 150 years building, learning, growing stronger. They had learned from every species they met. They took the best weapons, the best tactics, the best technology, and made it their own. They had made themselves into something the galaxy respected, or feared. "What does Earth say?" Kate asked. Ryan hesitated. "The Coalition sent a message to all member species. They forbid any intervention in Vakrine Keltharian affairs. Any species that interferes will face severe sanctions. Loss of trade rights, expulsion from the Coalition, possible military action." And Earth's response? "President Michelle Hayes is convening an emergency session of the Global Council. They'll make a decision within 24 hours. Kate nodded slowly. "Get me a secure line to Keltharian Prime. I want to talk to their government." 20 minutes later, a Keltharian face appeared on her screen. It was Prime Minister Tixrel, the great-grandchild of Zixtal, the hero who had died saving humanity. Tixrel had the same four-eyed face and insect-like features, but there was a weariness in those eyes that hurt to see. "Admiral Sullivan," Tixrel said, "I assume you have heard about the Vakrine fleet." "I have." "Prime Minister, what are your defense plans?" Tixrel was silent for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was soft. "We have no defense plans, Admiral. We have perhaps 100 military vessels. Most of them are old. The Vakrine have 800 of the most advanced warships in the galaxy. We cannot win. We cannot even slow them down." "Then ask the Coalition for help." "We did. They said this is our problem to solve, just like they said it was your problem 150 years ago." Tixrel's antennae drooped. "Admiral, I am sending this message to you for a specific reason. I want you to know that my people do not regret saving yours. Even now, facing our end, we do not regret it. You have become a strong species. A good species. Please, when we are gone, remember us kindly. Tell your children that the Keltharians existed and that we tried to do what was right." Kate felt anger rising in her chest, hot and fierce. "Prime Minister, with respect, we're not going to sit around telling stories about you. We're going to save you. The Coalition has forbidden—" "I don't care what the Coalition forbids. Your people saved mine when we had nothing. When we were weak and helpless and about to die. You lost 40,000 people. You were punished for saving us. You gave up everything." Kate's voice was hard as steel. "You think we forgot? You think we spent 150 years getting strong just to watch you die? No, that's not how humans work." Tixrel stared at her through the screen. "Admiral, if you help us, humanity will lose everything you have built. The Coalition will destroy you economically. You will be isolated. Your people will suffer. Then we'll suffer," Kate said, "but we'll do it with honor. And we'll do it knowing we paid our debt." After the call ended, Ryan looked at her. "Kate, you can't promise that. Earth hasn't decided yet. Then we'll help them decide." The next 12 hours were chaos. Kate sent encrypted messages to every human military commander she knew. She called in favors. She reminded people of the stories they learned as children. The stories of Zixtal and the 40,000 Keltharians who died so humans could live. Meanwhile, on Earth, President Michelle Hayes sat in the Global Council chamber. Around her were representatives from every human nation and colony. The debate was fierce. "We can't risk everything we've built," one representative argued. "The Keltharians made their choice 150 years ago. We don't owe them our future." An older man stood up. His name was Ben Carter, and he was 168 years old, kept alive by advanced medicine. He had been there. He had held Zixtal's hand as the alien hero died. "You didn't see them," Ben said, his voice shaking with emotion. "You didn't watch them fly into certain death to save us. They knew they would die. They did it anyway. And now you want to abandon them? What does that make us?" "It makes us practical," the first representative shot back. "We have to think about our own people first." "Our own people?" Ben's eyes flashed. "Every person alive today exists because the Keltharians saved us. We are all children of their sacrifice. If we turn our backs on them now, we don't deserve what they gave us." President Hayes listened to both sides. She was 45 years old, the youngest president in human history. She had campaigned on building a better future for humanity, but she also knew that the future had to mean something. Finally, she stood. The room fell silent. 150 years ago, a species we barely knew sacrificed everything to save us. They didn't know if we would become their friends. They didn't know if we would even survive. They just knew it was right. She paused. Now they need us. And the galaxy is watching to see what kind of species we have become. Are we the kind that forgets? The kind that values profit over honor? Or are we the kind that repays our debts no matter the cost? She looked around the room at every face. "I say we repay the debt, even if it costs us everything." The vote was not unanimous, but it passed. Kate received the message 6 hours later. It was short and simple. "Proceed with all necessary force. Protect the Keltharians." By order of the president, she smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Ryan, recall all human military vessels. I don't care where they are or what they're doing. I want every ship we have assembled within 72 hours. "All of them?" Ryan asked. "Kate, that's over 300 warships. If we pull everyone back, we leave our own colonies undefended." "Do it anyway, and send a message to our engineers and scientists. I want every new weapon system we've been testing. I want everything that goes boom ready to deploy." Over the next 3 days, the largest human military fleet ever assembled gathered in space. 300 warships, from massive carriers to small destroyers. Every ship was ready for war. The crews were volunteers, every single one. They knew what this mission meant. They knew they might not come home. Kate addressed the entire fleet on an open channel. 150 years ago, our ancestors were saved by people who owed them nothing. 40,000 Keltharians died so that 2 million humans could live. Today, those same Keltharians face extinction. The galaxy says we should do nothing, that it's not our problem, that we should protect our own interests first. She paused, letting the words hang in the air. But we are not like the rest of the galaxy. We remember. We honor those who helped us. And we repay our debts. Her voice grew harder. The Vakreen Empire taught us about cruelty 150 years ago. They showed us what it means to be evil. Today we're going to show them what happens when you threaten our friends. Today we're going to show the whole galaxy what humans are capable of when they fight for something that matters. 300 ships answered with a roar of engines. The human fleet jumped to faster than light speed, heading toward Keltharian space. Behind them, the Galactic Coalition erupted into chaos. Emergency sessions were called. Threats were made. The Vakreen Empire demanded that the Coalition stop the humans immediately. Ambassador Carlos Martinez stood before the Coalition Assembly. He was humanity's representative, a skilled diplomat who had spent years building relationships and trade agreements. Now he was about to throw it all away. "The Coalition demands that humanity withdraw its fleet immediately," the Coalition speaker said. It was the same floating jellyfish creature that had refused to help humanity 150 years ago. Carlos smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "No," he said simply. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Dozens of species shouted at once, demanding, threatening, warning. Carlos waited until they were quiet. Then he spoke again. 150 years ago, you told us that our extinction was not. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light speed at the edge of Keltharian space. 300 warships hung in the darkness, weapons hot, shields up. On the bridge of the EDS Vengeance, Admiral Kate Sullivan studied the tactical display. "Report," she said. Ryan Bishop checked his screens. "Vakreen fleet is here, just as intelligence predicted. 812 ships. They're in attack formation, moving toward the Keltharian homeworld. Looks like they plan to start their invasion within 6 hours." Kate nodded slowly. "And the Keltharian defense fleet? 114 ships. They're forming a defensive line between the Vakreen and their planet. Kate, it's suicide. They can't possibly hold." "They held once before," Kate said quietly. "For us, now it's our turn." She activated the fleet-wide communication. "All ships, this is Admiral Sullivan. We are about to enter combat against a numerically superior force. The Vakreen have more ships and they've been at war for centuries. They think they can't lose." She paused, looking at the faces on the screens around her. Young faces, old faces, scared faces, determined faces. All human, they're wrong. We're not fighting for territory. We're not fighting for resources. We're fighting to repay a debt that has haunted us for 150 years. We're fighting for people who saved us when we were weak, and that makes us more dangerous than any fleet in this galaxy. She took a breath. The Vakreen think they know war. They're about to learn what happens when you threaten the friends of humanity. All ships prepare for combat. And remember, no mercy for those who show none. 300 human warships surged forward. In the science labs of the EDS Vengeance, Dr. Sam Chen was making final adjustments to the new weapon systems. Sam was 32 years old, brilliant and angry. His grandfather had been one of the refugees saved by the Keltharians. Sam had grown up hearing stories about Zixtal and the sacrifice. Those stories had driven him to become a weapons designer. Now his weapons were about to be tested in real combat. "Dr. Chen, weapons status?" Kate's voice came through his communicator. "Quantum disruption missiles are ready, Admiral. All 2,000 of them. I've also finished installing the enhanced plasma cannons on the forward ships. They should cut through Vakreen shields like paper." "Should?" Sam smiled grimly. "Will, Admiral. They will cut through their shields. I've spent 10 years designing these things specifically to kill Vakreen ships. Today we find out if I'm as smart as I think I am." "Good, get to a safe location. This is going to get rough." Sam didn't move to safety. Instead, he stayed at his monitoring station, watching the data feeds from his weapons. If something went wrong, he needed to fix it immediately. Meanwhile, in the fighter bays, Lieutenant Sophie Grant was running through her pre-flight checklist. Sophie was the granddaughter of Lisa Grant, the woman who had survived the first Vakreen attack. War was in her blood. She had graduated top of her class in flight school, and she was widely considered the best pilot in the human fleet. Her squadron, the Viper Wing, consisted of 48 fighters. Small, fast, deadly, they would be the first to engage the enemy. "All pilots, this is Viper Lead," Sophie said into her communicator. "Remember your training. Stay in formation until we reach combat range, then break and engage at will. Watch each other's backs. And if you get a shot at a Vakreen command ship, take it." Her wingman, a young pilot named Danny Brooks, spoke up. "Sophie, do you think we can actually win this?" Sophie checked her weapons one last time. "Danny, my grandmother fought the Vakreen with ships that were basically flying coffins. She watched her friends die, but she survived and she helped save 2 million people. Today we have the best ships, the best weapons, and the best reason to fight in the entire galaxy. Yes, we're going to win. And then we're going to make sure the Vakreen never forget what happens when they mess with our friends." The fighters launched, screaming out of the carrier bays like angry hornets. Engineer Nina Patel stood in the shield control room, monitoring the defensive systems. Nina had spent 5 years developing new shield technology, studying every alien design she could find. The result was a shield system that could adapt and change frequencies in real time, making it incredibly difficult to penetrate. "Shield power at maximum," she reported to the bridge. "All backup generators online. Admiral, our shield should hold against their plasma weapons for at least twice as long as standard designs. Let's hope we don't need to test that too thoroughly." Kate replied. The human fleet came within weapons range of the Vakreen force. For a moment, both sides simply stared at each other across the void of space. The Vakreen had expected to find only Keltharians. Instead, they found 300 human warships with weapons locked and ready. The Vakreen commander sent a message. The translation came through in a harsh, hissing voice. "Humans, you are in violation of coalition law. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed. Kate didn't hesitate. This is Admiral Kate Sullivan of the Human Defense Fleet. 150 years ago, you tried to exterminate my species. The Keltharians stopped you. Today, we stop you. You have 30 seconds to withdraw from Keltharian space. If you're still here after that, we will destroy you. The Vakrine commander laughed. It was a horrible sound. You have 300 ships. We have 800. You cannot win, human. Your sentiment will be your death. 20 seconds, Kate said calmly. You are fools. We will crush you. Just as we should have crushed you 150 years ago. And when we are done, we will hunt down every last human in the galaxy. 10 seconds. The Vakrine fleet began to move forward, weapons charging. Time's up, Kate said. All ships, weapons free. Show them what humans can do. The battle began. The first salvo from the human fleet was devastating. Sam Chen's quantum disruption missiles, launched from every ship, streaked toward the Vakrine fleet. The Vakrine point defense systems tried to shoot them down, but there were too many. The missiles reached their targets and detonated. The effect was instantaneous. Throughout the Vakrine fleet, ships went dark. Power systems failed. Shields dropped. Weapons stopped working. The quantum disruption technology that Sam had spent a decade perfecting did exactly what it was designed to do. It made Vakrine technology stop working. Missiles effective, Sam reported, his voice filled with satisfaction. Enemy shields are down across their front line. They're trying to reboot their systems, but it'll take at least 5 minutes. All ships concentrate fire on the disabled vessels, Kate ordered. Destroy them before they recover. The human warships opened fire with everything they had. Enhanced plasma cannons, railguns, missiles, laser batteries. The disabled Vakrine ships, unable to defend themselves, began to explode one after another. In the first 3 minutes of combat, the humans destroyed over 60 Vakrine vessels. Sophie's fighter wing dove into the chaos. The Vakrine had launched their own fighters, thousands of them, like a swarm of locusts. But human fighters were faster, more maneuverable, and piloted by people who had trained their entire lives for this moment. Break and engage, Sophie ordered. Her fighter spun and rolled, dodging enemy fire. She locked onto a Vakrine fighter and fired. Direct hit. The enemy exploded. She didn't stop to celebrate. Already she was targeting the next one. All around her, her squadron was doing the same. Danny Brooks took out 3 enemy fighters in rapid succession. Another pilot, a woman named Kelly Price, flew straight through a cloud of enemy fire to take down a Vakrine bomber before it could launch its payload at a human cruiser. But the Vakrine were not helpless. They were a warrior race with centuries of experience. They began to adapt. Their reserve ships, unaffected by the quantum missiles, pushed forward. Their weapons, powerful and deadly, began to find targets. The human destroyer EDS Ranger took 3 direct hits. Its shields failed, and a Vakrine plasma cannon tore through its hull. The ship broke apart, killing everyone aboard. Ranger is down, Ryan reported, his voice tight. Casualty reports coming in from multiple ships. Keep pushing, Kate ordered. We can't stop now. Nina Patel watched her shield displays with growing concern. The Vakrine weapons were powerful, more powerful than expected. The shields were holding, but barely. She rerouted power from non-essential systems, trying to keep the defensive systems online. On the Keltharian defensive line, Prime Minister Tixrol watched the battle in disbelief. The humans were outnumbered nearly 3-1, but they were winning. Their tactics were ruthless and efficient. They targeted command ships first, disrupting Vakrine coordination. They used their speed advantage to avoid the heaviest enemy fire while striking at weak points. But more than that, they fought with a ferocity that shook him. Human ships that were crippled and dying would ram into Vakrine vessels rather than retreat. Fighter pilots whose ships were too damaged to return home would fly suicide runs into enemy carriers. It was terrifying and beautiful at the same time. Should we join the battle? His military commander asked. Tixril shook his head slowly. No, this is their fight. They are repaying their debt. We will honor them by staying alive to see their victory. The battle raged for 6 hours. Space was filled with debris, exploding ships and weapons fire. The Vakrine kept trying to push through to the Keltharian homeworld, but the human fleet refused to let them pass. The silence after the battle was almost as loud as the fighting had been. Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of the EDS Vengeance and watched the Vakrine ships disappear into faster-than-light speed. They were running, broken and beaten. Good. Casualty report, she said quietly. Ryan Bishop looked down at his datapad. His hands were shaking slightly. 23 ships destroyed, 41 heavily damaged. Total casualties, 4,816 dead, another 3,000 wounded. Kate closed her eyes for a moment. Nearly 5,000 people. 5,000 humans who would never go home, but they had saved millions of Keltharians. It was a trade they would have accepted. What about the Vakrine? She asked. We destroyed 480 ships. They lost approximately 300,000 personnel. The ships that escaped are scattered across 3 systems, most of them damaged. It will take them years to rebuild their fleet to what it was before today. Kate nodded. 300,000 Vakrine dead. It should have made her feel guilty. It didn't. They had come to commit genocide. They got what they deserved. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the Keltharian surface, the communications officer said. Kate straightened her uniform. Put it through. Prime Minister Tixrell appeared on the screen. His 4 eyes were wide and his antennae were trembling. Behind him, Kate could see crowds of Keltharians gathered in what looked like a public square. They were all staring up at screens showing the human fleet. Admiral Sullivan, Tixrell said, and his voice broke. You came. You actually came. We promised we would never forget, Kate said simply. The Keltharians saved us when we had nothing. Today we returned the favor, but the cost? You lost so many ships, so many people, and the coalition. They will punish you for this. Everything you have built, Kate interrupted him gently. Prime Minister, do you know what my grandmother used to tell me when I was young? She used to say that the Keltharians taught humanity the most important lesson we ever learned, that some things are worth dying for. That honor matters more than survival. She looked directly at him. You saved 2 million of us. Today we saved all of you. As far as I'm concerned, we still owe you, because you taught us how to be better than we were. Tixrell was openly crying now. Keltharians cried differently than humans. A strange humming sound that came from deep in their bodies. But the emotion was unmistakable. I must come to your ship, he said. Please, Admiral. I must meet you in person. I must thank you properly. You're welcome aboard, Kate said. But Prime Minister, you don't owe us thanks. We owe you everything. 2 hours later, a Keltharian shuttle docked with the Vengeance. Kate waited at the airlock with an honor guard. When the door opened and Tixrell stepped through, she saluted. Behind her, every human on the ship did the same. Tixrell looked confused. Admiral, why do you salute me? I am not military. No, Kate agreed. But you are the descendant of a hero. Your great-grandparent, Zixtal, saved my species. Every human alive today is alive because of what Zixtal did. We salute you to honor that sacrifice. Tixrell walked forward slowly. He was shorter than Kate, his insect-like body moving with a strange grace. When he reached her, he did something unexpected. He reached out and took her hand in his 3-fingered grip. Take me to your injured, he said. Please, I must see them. Kate led him to the medical bay. The room was full of wounded soldiers. Doctors and nurses moved between beds, treating burns, repairing broken bones, trying to save lives. The smell of antiseptic and blood filled the air. Tixrell moved from bed to bed, speaking to each injured human. He thanked them. He told them their sacrifice would never be forgotten by his people. Many of the soldiers cried. Some tried to salute him, even with broken arms. At one bed, a young woman named Karen White lay with bandages covering half her body. She had been a gunner on the destroyer EDS Ranger. When her ship was hit, she had stayed at her post, firing until the last possible second, giving her crewmates time to reach the escape pods. She had barely made it out alive. Tixrell sat beside her bed. What is your name, warrior? Karen White, sir, she said, her voice weak. I'm not a warrior, though. Just a gunner. You fought to save my people. That makes you a warrior. Tixrell's antennae drooped in sadness. You are injured because of us. You may never fully recover. I am so sorry. Karen smiled, even though it clearly hurt. Sir, my great-great-grandfather was on New Dallas when the Vakrine attacked. Your people saved him. If they hadn't, I wouldn't exist. Getting hurt to save you, that's the least I could do. Tixrell made that humming sound again, the Keltharian cry. He placed his hand over Karen's. Your species is remarkable. Truly remarkable. When they returned to the bridge, Tixrell spoke to Kate privately. Admiral, what will happen now? The coalition will not forgive this. They will come after your people. Kate looked out at the stars. Maybe they will. Maybe we'll lose our trade agreements. Maybe we'll be isolated for decades. But we'll survive. We always do. She turned to him. Prime Minister, I want you to understand something. This wasn't a political decision for us. This wasn't about strategy or gain. This was personal. Every human learns about your sacrifice from childhood. We tell the story of Zixtal in our schools. We have monuments to the 40,000 Keltharians who died. This debt has been in our hearts for 150 years, she paused. Today we paid it. And if the galaxy punishes us for having honor, then let them. We'll still have something they'll never understand. We'll have the knowledge that we did the right thing. Tixril nodded slowly. When this is over, I want to propose a formal alliance between our species. Not just a treaty, but something deeper. A bond that cannot be broken. I think my president would agree to that, Kate said with a small smile. While Kate and Tixril talked, the rest of the galaxy was in chaos. The Galactic Coalition chamber was filled with shouting aliens. The Vakreen representative was demanding justice, punishment, reparations. Other species were arguing about what to do with humanity. Ambassador Carlos Martinez sat in the human delegation area and listened to it all with a calm expression. He had known this was coming. They all had. Finally, the coalition speaker called for order. The jellyfish-like creature's tentacles glowed angry red. The human species has committed a severe violation of coalition law, it announced. They interfered in a territorial dispute between member species. They engaged in military action without coalition approval, and they have refused to accept our authority. The speaker paused dramatically. The coalition demands the following: immediate withdrawal of all human forces from Keltharian space. Payment of war reparations to the Vakreen Empire in the amount of 50 trillion credits. Dissolution of the human military fleet. And acceptance of permanent probationary status with no chance of full membership. The chamber erupted in cheers from some species, protests from others. Carlos stood up slowly. Every eye in the chamber turned to him. No, he said clearly. The speaker's tentacles flashed brighter. You refuse the demands of the coalition? I refuse every single one of them, Carlos said. We will not withdraw from Keltharian space until we are certain they are safe. We will not pay one credit to the Vakreen, who came to commit genocide. We will not dissolve our fleet. And as for your probationary status, we don't want your membership anymore. The chamber exploded in shocked voices. You cannot simply leave the coalition, the speaker said. Watch us, Carlos replied. For 150 years we've played by your rules. We've been respectful. We've tried to fit into your system, but today we remembered who we really are. We're the species that never forgets. We're the species that repays its debts, and we're the species that doesn't abandon our friends. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of every alien present. You want to punish us? Go ahead, cut our trade. Sanction us. Ban us from your systems. We don't care. We'll survive. We always do. His voice grew harder. But here's what you need to understand. If you come after us, if you threaten us, if you attack any of our allies, we will respond. And after today, after you've seen what we did to 800 Vakreen ships, do you really want to test us? The silence that followed was absolute. Carlos continued. We came to the stars hoping to find friends. Instead, we found politics, greed, and cowardice. But we also found the Keltharians. One species out of thousands that had the courage to do what was right. That's enough for us. We'll stand with them. And if that means standing alone against the rest of you, so be it. He picked up his data pad and walked toward the exit. Then he stopped and turned back. Oh, and one more thing. The Vakreen representative wants reparations. Tell him to come collect them. We'll be waiting, and we'll give him the same reparations we gave his fleet. Carlos left the chamber, leaving chaos behind. Back on the Vengeance, Kate received word of what happened at the coalition. She read the transcript and smiled. Ryan, send a message to all human colonies and ships. Tell them we're officially out of the coalition. We're on our own now. Ryan looked worried. Kate, this is going to make things difficult. We relied on coalition trade routes, their information networks, their legal protections. We'll manage, Kate said. We always do. Besides, I'd rather be alone with honor than rich with shame. 3 months had passed since the Battle of Keltharian Prime. 3 months since humanity had defied the Galactic Coalition, and won. The galaxy was still reeling from the shock. Admiral. Kate Sullivan walked through the rebuilt memorial. Garden on Earth. The garden honored the 40,000 Keltharians who had died saving humanity 150 years ago. Now new names had been added to the memorial. The names of the 4,816 humans who died repaying that debt. She stopped at a new statue. It showed a human and a Keltharian standing side by side, hands clasped. The inscription read, "Two species, one bond, forged in sacrifice, sealed in honor." An old man was sitting on a bench nearby. Kate recognized him immediately. Ben Carter, 168 years old, one of the last survivors who had actually known Zixral. "Mind if I sit?" Kate asked. Ben gestured to the space beside him. "It's your memorial too, Admiral." "You earned it." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the sun set over the garden. "I held his hand, you know," Ben said suddenly.
Zixral.
"When he was dying, he told me that humanity had potential, that maybe one day we would help someone else in return." "We did," Kate said softly. "More than that," Ben replied. "You proved he was right about us, that we were worth saving." He turned to look at her, his old eyes still sharp. "Thank you, Admiral, for making sure his death meant something, for making sure all their deaths meant something." Kate felt her throat tighten. "We couldn't have done anything else. They saved us." "A lot of species would have found a way to justify doing nothing," Ben said. "But not us. Not humans," he smiled. "Zixral would be proud." Far across the galaxy in the Coalition chamber, an emergency session was taking place. The topic was the same as it had been for 3 months. What to do about humanity. The Vakreen representative was speaking, his reptilian face twisted with anger. "The humans must be punished. They attacked us without provocation. They destroyed hundreds of our ships. They humiliated the Vakreen Empire." A voice interrupted him. It was the representative from the Tarn Collective, a species of small furry creatures. "Without provocation? You were about to commit genocide against the Keltharians. The humans stopped you. That sounds like provocation to me." "The Keltharians are a weak species," the Vakreen snarled. "The strong survive. The weak perish. This is the natural order." "The natural order," another voice said mockingly. It was the representative from the Maxis Union, a species of energy beings. "Is that what you were thinking when 300 human ships destroyed 800 of yours? Tell me, does the natural order say you're the weak ones now?" Angry hisses filled the chamber. The Coalition speaker tried to restore order. "Regardless of the circumstances, humanity violated our laws. They must face consequences." "What consequences?" the Tarn representative asked. "Economic sanctions? We tried that. They don't care. Military action? After what they did to the Vakreen, who wants to test them?" That brought silence. No one wanted to say it out loud, but everyone was thinking it. Humanity had gone from a probationary species to one of the most feared military powers in the galaxy in just one battle. "Perhaps," said a new voice, "we should consider a different approach." All eyes turned to the speaker. It was the representative from the Orlan Commonwealth, an ancient species known for their wisdom. The Orlan were tall, thin beings with silver skin and 3 eyes. "What approach?" the Coalition speaker asked. "We could try asking them to come back," the Orlan said. "Humanity has proven they have strong moral principles and formidable military capabilities. Perhaps the Coalition would benefit from having them as full members, not enemies." The Vakreen representative exploded. "Reward them? After what they did?" "What they did," the Orlan said calmly, "was honor a debt and protect an ally. These are admirable qualities, perhaps more admirable than anything we've seen in this chamber for a long time." The debate raged on, but Kate didn't care what the Coalition decided. Humanity had made its choice. On Keltharian Prime, construction crews were working around the clock. They were building something unprecedented, a joint human Keltharian military academy. Young people from both species would train together, learn together, fight together. Nina Patel stood in the center of what would be the main engineering lab. Beside her was a Keltharian engineer named Kixnor. Together they were designing new shield systems that combined human and Keltharian technology. "Your adaptive shield design is brilliant," Kixnor said, his mandibles clicking with approval. "And if we integrate our power distribution systems, we can increase efficiency by 40%. We'll create something neither of our species could build alone," Nina agreed. "Something stronger." Nearby, Sophie Grant was teaching a group of young Keltharian pilots how to fly combat maneuvers. The Keltharians were naturally cautious flyers, which had made them easy targets in battle. Sophie was working to change that. "Again," she called out as a Keltharian pilot pulled up too early from a dive. You have to commit to the attack. Yes, it's dangerous. Yes, you might get hit. But if you don't commit, you definitely won't hit your target. A young Keltharian named Vixtal, a descendant of the hero Zixral, tried the maneuver again. This time he held the dive until the last possible second before pulling up. His simulated weapons hit the target dead center. Perfect, Sophie shouted. That's how you do it. Aggressive, committed, fearless. After the training session, Vixtal approached Sophie nervously. Lieutenant Grant, may I ask you something? Sure, kid. What's up? Why did your people come? We could not repay you. We had nothing to offer. You risked everything to save us. Why? Sophie looked at him for a long moment. Your great-great-great-grandparents saved my species. Zixral died so we could live. We learned something that day. We learned that some debts can't be measured in money or trade agreements. They can only be measured in honor. She put a hand on his shoulder. Your ancestor believed we were worth saving. We spent 150 years proving him right. And when you needed us, we proved that we never forget. Vixtal's antennae trembled. I want to be like Zixral. I want to be brave enough to do the right thing even when it's hard. Then keep training, Sophie said with a smile. Because if anyone ever threatens either of our people again, we'll need pilots like you to help us fight them off. In Earth's government center, President Michelle Hayes was meeting with a group of alien ambassadors. They weren't from the Coalition. They were from smaller species, ones that had been bullied and exploited by the larger powers. A representative from the Pylon species, small blue beings with 6 arms, spoke hesitantly. President Hayes, our people are facing a similar situation to the Keltharians. The Krex Empire is threatening our colony worlds. The Coalition says it's an internal matter. We were hoping humanity might help us. Michelle listened carefully. Then she said, tell me about your people. Do you want war, or do you want justice? We want to live in peace, the Pylon representative said. But the Krex won't let us, Michelle nodded. Here's what we'll do. We'll send a diplomatic mission to the Krex Empire. We'll explain that the Pylon people are under human protection now. We'll explain what happened to the Vakreen when they threatened our friends. And we'll give the Krex a choice, leave the Pylon alone or face the consequences. And if they don't listen? Michelle's expression hardened. Then we'll teach them the same lesson we taught the Vakreen. That humanity protects its friends always. Word of the meeting spread quickly. Within days, representatives from a dozen smaller species arrived on Earth, all asking for the same thing: protection, alliance, friendship. Species that had been ignored or abused by the Coalition were looking to humanity as their champion. Kate Sullivan met with her command staff to discuss the situation. This is getting complicated. We've gone from being isolated to being the center of a new power block. Ryan Bishop nodded. Admiral, we're getting requests for military assistance from 8 different species. We can't protect everyone. Maybe we don't have to protect them, Sam Chen suggested. He had been promoted after his weapons performed so well in battle. Maybe we teach them to protect themselves, share our technology, train their militaries, show them how to stand up to bullies. Kate considered this. That could work. But it also means we're building an alliance that directly opposes the Coalition. That's going to make us even more enemies. We already have enemies, Sophie Grant pointed out. She had also been promoted, now commanding an entire fighter wing. The question is, do we want friends too? Real friends who share our values? Kate looked around at her team. Then she smiled. Let's build something better than the Coalition. Something based on honor and mutual protection. Something where the strong protect the weak instead of exploiting them. The Vakreen and their friends won't like that, Ryan warned. Good, Kate said. Let them be afraid. Let the whole galaxy know that there's a new power rising, one that actually gives a damn about doing the right thing. 6 months after the battle, the Human-Keltharian Alliance was officially formed. It was joined by 12 other species, all smaller powers that had been ignored by the Coalition. They called themselves the Free Stars Alliance. The inaugural ceremony took place on a new station, built at the border between human and Keltharian space.